Yeah.
Yep, well, it is a little wire there to the phone, so be careful.
Yes, sir. All right. Buttons pushed. Perfect stream. Checking your page.
Peace and blessings, family. This is Brother Shareef and Ptah Shakur on the Hour of Power with our special guest. We will start out with our universal prayer and our nugget of truth, and then we'll get into this much anticipated interview with our brother. So we'll start out with prayer. In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. If all the trees upon the earth were pens to write with, and if all the oceans were ink, and then another 7 oceans to add to it, merciful. We confide in no other in our time of need, and we praise no other in our good fortune. He is one. And even if I lived to be 1,000, it would still not be enough to thank God for his many blessings and gifts. We thank God for the Metu Neter, oracles, scriptures, and writings that came on the continent of Africa thousands of years before any organized religion. We thank God for Moses in the Torah, Jesus in the gospel, and Muhammad with the Quran. We can read everyone in words of peace. To our Christian family, praise the Lord. To our Muslim family, assalamu alaikum. To our Hebrew Israelite family, shalom. To our Black conscious family, hotep. To our Native American family, halito. And to our people in the streets, what's good with you? It all means peace. We always start out the hour power with a nugget of truth. That's just us explaining our history and history, since it's not being properly and fully explained in learning institutions. I thought I wanted to speak about a dark part of our human history that a lot of people don't know about, and it's not being taught in schools. Once again, it's called the Opium Wars. The Opium Wars in China. I have a book that explains it. It's called China, Its History and Culture, which are not going to explain this to you. But basically, the Opium Wars was back in the 1800s. China and England had agreement at the trading docks. They traded silver for tea. So England had the silver and China had the tea because that was a big social gathering in European countries to drink tea. So they traded silver for tea. So after the English countries did an assessment, they said, this isn't a good trade. We are depleting our silver. Even though we're getting tea, we're depleting our silver. We need to come out with a low bulk item that we can still get the tea, but not cough up our silver. Yes, so what they came out with was opium. Malcolm X used to talk about that's how he got high. He didn't get high off of weed when he was out in the street. Malcolm X got high off of opium. So once he came under the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, he was one of the first to explain this history. So they got some unsavory people at the docks in China to bring the opium in for tea. Don't you know, within months, almost their whole society was doped up off of opium. Don't this sound familiar? Children high off of it, women prostituting. And in this book, it says that this time, which was in the 1830s, was the worst social epidemic in their history, was the people getting high off of opium. And then a brother, I call him a brother, he's one of my heroes in China, named Lin Chin Zhu, said, you ain't gonna be doping up my people off of no opium. He met the people at the docks, and they thought that they was gonna do a normal trade, and he dumped chests and chests of opium into the water. So don't you know, Canada, England, and all these European countries jumped on him and went to war with him. Opium War One from 1836 and Opium War Two through 1841. They went to war because they didn't want to be dope addicts.
Yes, sir.
That's what the war was about. They didn't like that they didn't let his people be doped up off of opium, and they went to war with them twice. Opium War One, Opium War Two, which ended in 1842. Many people were killed on both sides, and then they put, I think, a 300 million double indemnity fine on China for them wasting their drugs. So that's what the war was about. He wouldn't let his people be dope addicts, and he stood up for his people. And no one knows what happened to him. You know what happened to him, but you can look it up yourself, and it's documented in this book, China and its history and culture. And they still to this day, they said this is the worst social epidemic that they've had in their history, was when the opium was coming in, and at first they didn't know where it was coming from. They said, where's this stuff coming from? We've never had trouble with drugs like this. Here it was coming in at their own docks, Opium War 1 and 2. So, and Minister Malcolm told us about this back in his day. So that's this week's nugget of truth. And that's so synonymous with us coming in with crack cocaine.
Yes, sir.
At the docks and Freeway, Ricky Ross, the real Freeway, and he started. That's a whole nother story. So that's this week's nugget of truth, and I'm gonna turn it over to my good brother Ptah Shakur.
Awesome, great nugget of truth. We are gonna double back to that. Grand Rising, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kings and queens, and everybody in between. This is the Hour of Power broadcast. If you're listening to us right now, everybody, seats are getting filled up there on Facebook right now, but this is also being streamed live to the White Rose Community Channel 16 and Channel 18. This program here is actually a community program. We want to hear about your tragedies. We want to hear about your triumphs as well. If you're a local business owner and you actually have wonderful products and services for the community, and this is a wonderful way for you to come on board and let the family know what's going on. We want to hear from our youth constantly. We want to hear all the wonderful endeavors that our youth getting involved in. This is Feel Good TV. We feel that this is high time for some positive programming, so to speak. So this program is designed to educate, motivate, and inspire anyone that is looking to better themselves. I am, like I said, Ptah Shakur. Go ahead and get official YouTube subscribe if you want to go ahead and get one of these Ptah Shakur shirts. A little shameless plug I'm throwing in there. Make sure to hit me up there on Ptah Shakur at 1111@gmail. Like I said, this is going out to Facebook. Later on, this will be going on to YouTube. And say hi to our TikTok subscribers that's in there right now. You're catching this as well. But like I always say, before we get into the crust of our conversation, we have a wonderful pastor, David Overton, is going to share about his wonderful programs that he has to contribute to better the youth and families in our community. But like always, warning, the information you hear may excite you, may depress you, may trigger you, but we're making sure that we are doing our due diligence, opening our throat chakras and being our true selves and expressing what it is on our mind. So if you have something that you want to express on your mind, this is where you need to be on this here particular channel here on the Hour of Power, which is every Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so without further ado, for the Black History, and this is the question I posed there on Facebook, and if you want to call in, the call-in number 717-846-5067. What is the state of the Black community in 2025? As we know that there's been quite a few changes that's going on politically, a lot of infrastructure being removed and things of that nature. But we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about the changes that's taking place, like I said, politically as well, just naturally, geographically, things going around the world. Some really interesting point. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on very, very wonderful gentleman. We had him on the program before. He's going to come in and share a little bit about his consultation program called I Believe in You Consultation, as well as Believe Outreach and Ministry. So without further ado, I'm give it up to my brother, Pastor David Overton. Share a little bit about yourself and what brings you, what's on your mind, what's on your heart. And we're going to get this wonderful Black History Month discussion going.
All right, well, let me know exactly.
And thank you for mentioning that. Anybody who's watching this right now, we want you to share this page with individuals that you know that are in the New York City community that want to see a better tomorrow. And believe it or not, it's not up to our politician and elected officials. It's for all those that has their boots on the ground for us to move forward and to bring in this particular reality for our youth and for our families. But
Yeah. First, I want to thank you guys for having me on again. I want to thank everybody who's on, listening, watching. But I'll start with, I Believe You Consulting. And it really is exactly what the company is named, I Believe in You. The whole purpose of it is to believe in individuals until they believe in themselves.
okay.
I think that's a crucial thing nowadays, especially when it comes to our youth.
Sure.
Our biggest thing that I do focus on is young black males.
Okay.
Young black males is one of my prominent things that I focus on because I'm a black male, and growing up, we didn't have all the best, male figures around us. We had our coaches, you had pastors. I mean, you had some, but when you look at like as a multitude, right? And we even need more. We need more. We wonder why our communities are the way they are. It's because where are our black men teaching our young boys how to become men?
Yes, sir.
And so that is our focus. There's 3 programs that we have. We call it American Boys Fly. That is working with our young black males, but that's our focus. But we work with anyone, and that is to help them discover their skills, abilities, and talents. And I think that's very important. Absolutely. And I think that's important, especially, I also coach, I also train. And I think when we think about skills, abilities, and talents, that's very crucial because you can have the skill, and I'm just going to use sports as an example.
Yes, sir.
You can have the skill to play basketball. You can have, or let me say, you have the skill, you got the ability to play high school ball,
Yeah.
but you might not have the talent to play D1, right? So the thing is, let's help our young boys find out what are all their skills. Like your only skill isn't sports. Your only skill isn't just math. Your only skill isn't just science. Like we want you to understand and touch all the different skills that are yours so you can reach all your abilities and ultimately know what really is your talent. A lot of times, growing up, people would tell us, you can be anything you want.
Yeah.
Right? And you really got to look at it as like, that's really a cliche, right? Now some people that's watching might disagree, but you can say somebody can be anything they want, right? But you're not the one holding their hands and guiding them through. You're just telling them.
Yeah.
You can be anything you want.
Yeah.
But if there's a young boy, he's 6'6", 230 pounds, and he says he wants to be a jockey, he wants to race horses.
Right.
There's no way he's ever going to be a jockey racing horses unless God creates a brand new horse. Right? He just can't.
Right.
And I'm just using that to say there's some things that are inside of us, right? That makes all of us unique, and we need to find that. And it's so easy just to tell somebody you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? But there's more to it.
Yeah.
Right? There's more to it. So we have the American Boys Fly, and then we have the behavior consultant for schools. For schools, juvenile detention centers, and just trying to be conscious of time. What we do is we help individuals in those areas be able to function in any given environment. Any given environment. One of the biggest things that we go out, and I actually go out to different conferences and speak on, is that behavior is just communication.
Yes, sir.
And if I can get leadership in these institutes to understand that, right, we can help more kids in education, right? Behavior is just communication, right? So you said a kid, he turns a chair over, he turns something over. We're thinking, what are his consequences?
Right.
That's what we're thinking. Or how are we going to handle it? And it's not saying that you don't handle it.
It's like
but,
old school.
Right. You're looking at it and saying, what are we going to do about this behavior? Instead of saying, first of all, why is he communicating like that? Right. Everything when it comes to behavior is really communicating. And that's what helps you get down to the root of stuff. Because now you're looking at these behaviors and saying, why is someone communicating like that, right? Versus just looking at the behavior, looking at the damage, looking at the disruption, even though you do have to deal with that. I'm not saying that you don't.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you got to come back to the table and say,
The core.
why is he communicating
Yep.
this? Why is he using, why is he using his language? Why is he using nonverbals? Why, all those things.
Yes, sir.
And so those are the focuses that we have. And our biggest model is that we believe that every kid can learn. But the question is, are they willing to learn?
Okay.
And so what we do is we help put the will back in learning, right?
Yes, sir.
You can say that every kid can learn, but do they have the will to learn?
That's a good question.
Do they want to learn? Do they
Right.
desire? What is the, why should I even learn? When I'm looking at everything and I'm seeing things not being accomplished, I'm seeing things that people aren't being successful in these areas, and you're telling me I need to learn math and I need to learn this, and nothing in my family has ever done anything from that.
Right.
How do you put the will back
I got you.
in our kids?
I was just thinking about that because if you study young children, when they first learn how to walk, and put on book bag, that's one of the things. At least the children I know, they wanted to go to school. You couldn't keep them home when they're like in their pre-K and all those type of things. But as far as I just had to ask myself a question. That's a good question. Do they have the will to learn? And so I guess for like particularly speaking for the older youth, like the high school and the middle schoolers, that's a good question to ask. And whether you are parents at home, you touched on another thing when you're talking about the language and communication, not only with the behavior, but even the love language. What's the love language of your child? I just thought about that when you just brought that up. Quite honestly, is how many of us out here, when we speaking to our youth, are we listening to them or even asking them the questions like how are you receiving love from your parents, or how would you like to receive it, or what would you like to receive in school? So yeah, you're definitely on it. That communication, I believe, is needed to break down the barriers of behavior for sure.
And it is, and that winds up our last thing is parenting.
Yeah.
Right. I really hope that more men, and women too, as far as parents, would be willing to come to our parenting classes, which are, more one-on-ones with me to understand how do I parent, and that could be a thing because, us, we're looking at things like, no, I know how to parent. I know how to handle my child. I know what to do, but when I have my groups with men that are 40 and 45 and they tell me like, yo, my mom used to beat me, you know what I mean? Like she ain't play, she ain't, and then you're like, well, where are you today from that? It's like, well, I ain't really, there was no other guidance than that. Like I listened to her, but where was the guidance for everything else?
Yes, sir.
Right? Like we love our moms, we love our grandmothers, we love even our dads, but at the end of the day, I talk to dads who cuss their kids out. Like, no, he know he ain't gonna act up when I'm here. Yeah, but what is he gonna act up when you're not here?
That's the key thing.
What are you teaching him? Like, I understand that he fears you. I understand that he don't joke and all that, but how are you helping him for later? How you helping him to move through the ways of life? Right. But when I sit down with some of my parents, I understand that, like, I was never taught those ways. Okay. I was never taught how to go. And so the thing is, being willing to say, you know what, I need some assistance on this. And that's hard. That's difficult. So I don't fault anybody that doesn't, come out and say, you know what, I need assistance. That's hard. My wife will always tell you, like, I'm very stubborn when it comes to things. Like I never want to ask questions when I'm driving. Like I tell myself, I ain't never got lost, right?
Yeah,
I ain't never got lost. And I just keep going till I find my way. You know what I mean? Like, yo, pull over and ask somebody. No, I'm gonna get it. And sometimes that's what we're doing with our youth, right? And I'm not just talking about parents. I'm also talking about even in the education system.
Yes, sir.
right? You got teachers, you got principals, you got counselors, and guess what? They were able to pass the test, right? They were able to pass the praxis. They was able to pass the principal test. They were able to pass all of that, but yet they're still not able to transcend the things that they pass on the test into our kids.
True indeed.
Right? So it's like, it's more than that. It's more than a test. I tell people all the time, we can go to a boxing gym right now, right? And we can see somebody on a bag, right? They're on a speed bag. Yo, he looking pretty. They're on a body bag. The footwork look good. And then you put him in the ring. He get knocked out in 30 seconds. Like, wait a minute.
Right.
That's what we're looking at in our education system when it comes to, I'm not saying that these aren't nice people.
Yeah.
Of course, we know they're qualified because they passed the test that the state said or whatever for them to take, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
So it's the point of our schools and our institutions willing to say, we need help. They also have to be willing, just like the parents, to be able to say, we need assistance. This ain't working. You know, we're not jumping grade levels no more. We're still putting out kids that aren't able to read. We're still having kids drop out, right? A lot of people, they drop out because they bad at. No, some of them are kind of ashamed or feel guilty that I'm still reading at a third grade level and I'm in 11th grade. No need for me to be in school no more.
Yes, sir. What we're missing, if I may say, I'm a therapist. I go into the schools as a BC counselor. Well, I've been more at home doing therapy, but I'm qualified to be a counselor in the school. Is a lack of black men. If we had more black teachers, at least for our boys, instead of the vocal point being behavior, will be about learning. Is that what you see as a lack of black men?
Oh, it's definitely. I mean, that's definite. That's definite. I've been in schools, you know, where teachers have come to me and say, of other ethnic groups have literally said to me, "Listen, you get that response. I can't get that response because you know you're black."
90%.
And I'm just being honest with it.
90% of the teachers in there are white women. Not saying that, against them. The ones I see, they try, but like you said, they just don't have that connection and lack of respect like a black male teacher would be.
I mean that's true. I mean, even if you had more black men in schools that were able to help guide the education. They don't have to directly be the teacher teaching it.
Yes, sir. But
they're supporting it. Like, hey, we're a team. Me and her team. You know what I mean? I need her to have the same respect, and bringing that togetherness because you do have more males in the school, right? So you got to figure out, hey, how can we bring them into school? They don't have to be, but then at the same time, you also still got to pay them, right? Because that's important. Because if the goal is for our kids to learn, then we have to do whatever we need to do. You can't say, well, we'll bring him in and he's helping everything function and flow the way it is, and say, well, we're gonna pay him $12 an hour, but we're gonna pay them $70,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a part.
Like, it doesn't work if you don't have, like, if you're saying you want this growth, right? York City, and they're not the only school, but York City been wanting growth for a long time, right? And they'll say, hey, oh yeah, we got growth. And then you look at it, it's like, where is this, 500 and something school districts in the state of Pennsylvania?
500.
York has been ranked pretty much the same
At the bottom.
since, 470,
480, 490.
Right, 590,
Yeah.
like 595 was like, we haven't chopped down at that. Why? And I know we say positive things, and I think that's great. You got to keep it positive, right? But then you also got to take reality and say, hold on, how can we get this down to 450? How can we get this down to 300? Do we even believe that we can do that? Because guess what? There's somebody that's 10. There's a district that's 10. There's a district that's 20. There's a district that's number 100. So if we're number 500 and we're staying in that ballpark, why are we staying in that ballpark?
Societal issues.
You know?
Also,
True.
crime, people not living in the city, people are moving out. And even though you're concentrating on education. We're even suffering behind it with sports. Everyone used to fear York High in basketball and football. No one fears them no more because a lot of the talent is going to Central, Dallastown, Red Line. We're losing a lot of athletes that would have normally came to York High. So now we're not the big dog no more. We're just trying to survive.
Well, they had a
That's
good.
sports.
I would say they had a good season.
Mhm.
You know, this year with Kerry coming on and his staff. I haven't been out to a game, but I've read some things and they've been doing real well. So I feel like it's an uptick in that. You know, but then you got to
So
look
Not,
at
not the dominance.
right.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
it's going. It'll take some
Slow
time,
build.
but again, just like any other school, when you're talking about sports, you're talking about if you're good, people are pulling you, right? You got prep schools that are pulling you. You know, you got to have something in your school that's going to keep you, right? So if you're looking at a central, people are saying, "Well, they got a good team, but my kid going to get educated real good there,"
Mhm.
right? That I mean, that's what I hear. I'm not saying whether it's true or not. But like, well, if I go to York High, like I can be good, I can do basketball, but am I going to get the same breaks if I go to Central? You know, so that's the thing. Like that York would have to work on too. Like it's more than basketball, right? So we got to make it so. Hey, not only are our kids going to go to school afterward, but they're going to stay in school too. So now they can pull back and say, no, you can really do it here. You can come out of here, go to school, stay in school, and not come back. You know, so I think that's a part of it. But you know, I give a shout out to Kerry. You know, he's doing a good job this year, and that brings good morale for the school. When your teams are doing well, the school starts to pick up. So I hope that York City puts all that together, runs behind them, but adds education. I did a camp last summer, basketball math camp, and our motto was um, academic scholarships over athletic scholarships. So
Mhm.
yeah, we got our people in there balling and all that, but listen, you can get an academic scholarship and still be the number one player, right? You can still do that. You think about I can't remember his name, last name Rose out of Florida State. He was the top player in college when he was in there, and he had academic scholarship. People probably would have thought he was on an athletic, but he was on an academic scholarship. So if we focus on our kids and we're saying, listen, academic scholarship
Yes, sir.
and sports is extra because
Mhm.
sports is tough. You look at the percentage. I don't have it on me now, but you're talking about 1% going D1, 2% going D, and then the rest aren't going. You're not even playing there. So
Yes, sir.
if that's your whole focus, then what?
Exactly.
You know.
Have a backup, as they say. But you definitely touched on a lot of points. So if anybody's listening at home right now, like I said, you can join the conversation. We got quite a few participation there in the Facebook chat. But you can go ahead and call in. The number 717-846-5067 here. We're at with Pastor David Overton. He shared about his wonderful program that he has, the American Boys Fly, instructing our young males. Males is something that we really need to kind of focus in. You see some of some of the ladies, some of the young ladies are getting their act together, but we got the influence of music and society and just ego, and we'll touch into some of that in a little bit. As far as that, as well as our behavior consultant, and for parents that's listening, I think we have coming up next week. Don't we got Sakia coming up on here next week? She's coming up in a little
No,
bit.
that's in April.
In April. Anyway, so that idea is there's a common theme of making sure that the parents get their we're being put your little toes in the fire a little bit. That we have, you can't just send your youth to school and just think that the school system. I mean, how many years do we need of proof to be evident that that's not really going to change? And I'm a big proponent for all great breakthroughs. We got to have some break whiffs, meaning we got to stop following a certain line of thinking, and perhaps that'll open up new doors. And it's interesting thing like you were sharing as far as that communication aspect. How do we reach? And anybody who's listening, if you have any input that you want to kind of share in the chime in as well. How do we reach the youth? Because I'm still hearing stories as far as youth, and even after the whole COVID thing, I guess that online learning or whatever, virtual learning or whatever, when they came back for that,
Mm-hmm.
some of the youth, they just feel emboldened to kind of act out. Now they got like a different type of energy, and then how the teachers and how the practitioners are handling things. Yeah, we need to have some different type of boots on the ground. That's my thought.
I mean, I think so. I mean, you give credit when credit is due. You look at, I think, I seen or I was reading in a paper about uh, 100, 100 days with no violence or anything. So shout out to Commissioner Muldrow and Tiff for them doing that.
For sure.
And I think we do
Drug
got to take it a
intervention,
step.
gun intervention.
Right. I
gun
think
GVI.
yeah, yeah. So
Shout out.
they're working hard. Shout out for them. I also think we still got to take it a step further, right? Like I think that her theme that she go, which is very powerful when she started it, that was it less funerals, more graduations,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to combine that with not only graduation, but now also uh, the education piece,
Yes.
right? We graduate people that can read. We
Yeah,
graduate
we got a
people that
piece
can
of
go
paper.
to right.
Yeah.
We graduate people that are going to trade school. We graduate people that are equipped to go to trade school, are equipped to go to college,
Yeah.
are equipped to go
I got
out
you.
and find the right job, right? Because if not, then they get swallowed up,
True.
right? After the fact,
True.
right? So we're doing great on that.
So it's like
But
forgotten. Yeah.
right, like I use myself, like I went to Lake Clifton. I love Lake Clifton in Baltimore,
Okay.
right? And anybody who's ever heard me speak, like yes, everybody would say that Lake Clifton was a bad school, but I loved it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if I be honest, when I came out of Lake Clifton, I couldn't read,
Yes, sir.
right? And you're talking about, I would say I'm one of the good guys. Like I tell people all the time, like I ain't no thug.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But football and all of that, I was able to play. I was good. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that it has to be more.
Yeah.
Okay. My class, ninth grade, we started with 1,500 freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
1,500 freshmen was at orientation at Lake Clifton in '92.
Okay.
You know how many people we graduated? Take a guess. Give me a number.
7. What's the half?
Less than
You said
half.
15?
1,500.
Less than half.
800.
800. What you say?
Less than
Okay.
half.
243.
Sheesh.
What happened to the ones that didn't graduate? Did they eventually graduate, or they just
243. I don't know.
You don't know
All
what
I
happened.
know is we had 243
Yeah, there's
at the graduation. So
That's
if you look at that drop off, right? So the stuff we talk about now isn't new, right? But the thing is, when will we do something new that we start moving up or moving mountains?
Yes, sir.
Right? We talk about it. We put when we see it, we got to be steps ahead, or we're still in that spot,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can graduate people, but if they're not ready to work, they're not ready to produce for their community, their mind isn't ready, then what does it do for the community?
Should be
Well,
considered an epidemic.
And even like you asked, my component that I'm kind of vibrating in is the heart, the love portion of it, and this is kind of what I want to segue into a little bit about the 100 man read, or was it like the real man read?
Yeah.
That to me is an example of some out of the box type of ideas. Can you tell a little bit about that? Because I know you've been working with that for.
Yeah. So we did the 100 man read. It started with Marquez.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marquez Mitchell. I joined with him, and then when he wound up moving, he asked if I would be able to take it over. I told him sure. So we did it. We didn't do it last year. We tried to do it during the pandemic or whatever. But basically, what it was about was Real Men Read, where we gathered men, all men, to come together, sign up. We got all schools across the city to participate, we sent men to each school to read to the kids. The older kids, we spoke to them. Then we came back for a luncheon where we talked about. I think our last one was, as men, did we drop the ball, and if so, how do we pick it back up?
Yes, sir.
And so it's a really good thing. I don't believe we have time to do it this year with everything going on, but like I said earlier, my plan is that hopefully we'll be able to do it next year because it takes a lot of prep to get the dates with all the schools to make sure because we try to do it near the end of school and just try to get dates with all the schools to match because they have testing, they have this, they have,
April, May type of thing.
yeah.
And the reason I bring this up, and then this can possibly help kind of cause a little bit more momentum. If you're a man that's at home right now, I would constantly say that if you're over the age of 30, you have a gift. You have you have knowledge to expand and expound on to our youth. We got to stop being afraid of our youth. We hear them coming down the street making a bunch of noise, and we want to grab our cell phones and be looking. You know, the picture of Malcolm X look through the window, but instead of with a gun, we got the cell phone snitching on our own youth. We got to stop doing that. We understand the youth. They know when you're real. So if you actually reach out to them in a very genuine manner, you know, that's something that we is very much needed. So if you would like to participate with the Real Man Read program, we're going to bring, I know I'm going to be there. That's one of the things I participated with a couple years ago, and that really kind of kick-started to what I'm doing now. Like,
Gotcha.
so you wouldn't know,
right.
you know, and I've seen a lot of young men, a lot of men that just come there and they get a little taste of it in their mouth as far as giving back to the youth. Just seeing their eyes when you're reading them stories.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these young individuals, they never had a male ever read them. They had their nanas, their abuelas, they had their mothers or whatever, but to have another man, that helps with the communication part as well, because when they constantly get stories read to them by feminine females, and then they go into a school district, and like you were saying, and they see the females, they can they know what kind of games to play and what kind of buttons to pull. But when you're around a man, a real man, and you realize, oh, let me not do this, and let me do a little behavioral kind of chickity check. And so I think that's what we're headed towards. I'm definitely part of the vision, bro.
And also, it allows them to know that it's okay to read.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? That's the biggest. When you see them, you know, we go in classrooms and we call people, hey, who want to know? We're going to read with you. It's okay. And, you know, I'll make mistakes so that they feel comfortable about, like, hey, we're allowed to make mistakes. Right? You know, you come up, you know what I mean? Help correct me. Make sure I'm saying it right. Like, we do little things to make them comfortable. But when you see these young boys see men reading, it gives them the okay.
Yeah.
Right? It gives them I don't think we understand how important
anime. Go grab
men
any type
are.
of book.
Right. Any book. But take that for all the areas of our lives.
Yeah.
They're waiting to see men in that realm. Like, you know what I mean? A man who doesn't do this. A man who doesn't do, like, oh, I didn't know men. No, I thought that was being a man. I thought this was being a man. And then realize, like, that's not being a man.
Right.
You know, so I think we're definitely going to, like he said, look forward to that in 2026. We're going to start it early so we can get all the schools together to find out what date is good for the school. What date is good for the school?
Yeah, we could make that happen. Just take some planning, but I think this reading thing needs to be looked at as a national epidemic. You know, because they still have the thing of a school to prison pipeline, which I know is true. If children can't read by the third grade, they're already making beds in the prison at a state level. So the system still isn't for us, and we know the person in office now isn't for us. But that isn't the worst thing we face. We're putting too much emphasis on what he isn't doing for us instead of what we can do for each other. Yeah, it's too much. We've faced way more than this. Really, no president has been for us. So, I mean, why is this such of a scare? We need to unite, come together, figure out why black men supposedly ain't passing the test to even get into the schools, because that's what they say. They got a record or they're not passing I don't know all the exams because I'm not a teacher. I just work with the teachers as a counselor. Those are the things that and just support each other. You know, they talk about we don't have the CA no more, the Vonnie Grimes gym like we used to. We just need to do things to support our children in and out of school.
And I think that is so very true. Um, when you talk about, and everybody, politics ain't always the thing, but like you said, when you talk about like Trump, it's if we would focus more on us,
Yes, sir.
take this opportunity to focus on us. Like you said, there's no president that was for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just being honest. Like I'm not here to argue with anybody or anything, but
Right.
there's no president
Proof
that
is
was
in
ever
the pudding,
for
as
us.
they say.
They got
And even when you think
regimen
about,
they gotta follow.
and I think that's the part. Like you gotta understand, you're, and the reason why we're kind of bumping heads, blacks are bumping heads with the whole Trump thing and the Democrat thing because things are being revealed that were lies.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's hard. Like Trump was using that to advance. Like they said they did this for you, they didn't.
Right.
Even though it's a coin with the same heads on both sides, right?
Right.
Like the only one's going to help us is us, right? People think about. Listen, I'll give you the example on one of our Black Love, and signing the Black Love I was teaching was that everybody loves Abraham Lincoln.
Mm.
But if you only knew what Abraham Lincoln said, you probably wouldn't. And I know it, right? Because as a kid, we used to do the play. You know how bad I wanted to say 7 years ago?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. I was like, man, he get to do, like, I wanted to say that so bad, but now at my age of studying Lincoln,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd have been mad at myself for doing that.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we
Look
just
at his
celebrate
inauguration.
Yeah.
Look at his inauguration speeches. Right? I'm not saying this, and people get upset. I'm not saying you just go look at the archives yourself.
Right.
He said that he was never for Negroes to ever be voters nor jurors. That means he didn't want you to do anything.
On an equal footing, right?
Right?
Mhm.
He said that there should be a superior. And if it is, it's going to be the white man.
Right.
I'm not saying this. I can show it to you. If you call me up, I'll email it to you. These are his own words.
Yes, sir.
That we were never taught when I was in second, third grade. Whatever. This man was the man. Right?
And he freed black
But,
people.
right. And we know that's not true.
Right.
And that whole thing will come up later on, I hope, working on a committee hopefully for that, for us to understand that as blacks, we got to understand that God freed us, right? Don't even look at people. You got to understand that God orchestrated the Union and the Confederate to do exactly what they needed to do, that we would be free. And so that's a whole nother story, but if we can understand that it was God and embrace that, it's going to take you to a whole nother level.
Well, I'll say this to you, and I say that as anyone else that's listening on right now, is that I'm willing to, the vision that you're sharing is so much needed. I'm willing to sit on the committee, and anyone else, if you're out in the city and you just, even if you got the small bud of an idea, I'm a real big proponent of having your success team, having individuals around you to reflect ideas off, so we can cause this thing to grow. I'm willing to sit on anybody's committee. I've never been on a committee. I know how but I do know some committees. When I used to work with Chris Pasada, I know some committees are set up just to kind of like be some idle time, little wasters or whatever. But just like I said, this is a new day, y'all.
Yeah.
And I don't believe, I've said this before, I don't believe the black community is capable of coming together. We have to be brought together. And what greater time than to have an impetus or a catalyst that causes us. Just imagine if we had and even Ronald Reagan mentioned this about, imagine if we had a threat, an outside threat that would cause humanity to have a shared enemy. So whatever it takes, if we have a shared perceived enemy, if that's what it takes to have an enemy produced for you in order for you to do something you should do for your own people and for your own children, so be it. Come join the movement. Come join committees. I'm with it.
And that's where Black Love comes in.
Beautiful.
When I started the Black Love event, I got some pulls, not from other ethnic groups, but my own, right? Not from just my own, but even some pastors, right? That was like, love is not segregated,
Okay.
you know. And
I got you.
I wanted them to say, why don't you come to my black love so you can understand what I'm talking about? This black love has nothing to do with any other ethnic groups. It has to do with us being accountable to us.
Yes, sir.
It's about us understanding, where did we stop supporting each other? Where did these things start to happen? Like, yeah, we understand drugs in the 80s. We understand this and that. But it comes before that, you know. And I don't have time, but, you know, if you talk about, we talk about Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm up to like 30 massacres right now, right? That I can tell you about. 30 different massacres that happened from 1846 to 2015. So when we're saying black love, yeah, I know you looked at black love on Oprah or whatever, where you talking, and that is love that's needed, the family with the husband and the wife. That's great. But as a community, where is our love? And the only way for us to get that back is to understand. I'm not telling you stay stuck in the past. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about understanding something so that we can move in the future, right? How are we supposed to move? Like, when I look at my age and when I was younger, like, we ain't been moving right. How do I know? I still look at our cities. You can say, people can say whatever they want and say, oh, we're better off. Tell me how we're better off. One of the things that in one of our Black Loves, we talked about Martin, we did his I Had a Dream speech. But what we did was we started his speech, and I would want everybody to start his speech at the 5-minute mark.
5-minute mark.
Right?
Okay.
The 5-minute mark, he's going to take you to church.
Okay.
And we know what happens once somebody take you to church. You only remember the part that he took you to church.
Got you.
So we do the church first part, the ringing of the bell, going over the mountaintop, holding hands. We get all that. Everybody get right with that. And now we start back from the beginning,
Got you.
where he says 5 scores ago. Each score is 20 years.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that the March on Washington in 1963 was 100 years from the Emancipation Proclamation. So what Martin says in that speech, which probably some people don't know, he says 100 years later, and the Negro is still not free. Well, in 63, we didn't have shackles, did we?
Right.
We didn't have shackles on our hands. We didn't have. So why would Martin say that 100 years later, and we're still not free?
Yes, sir.
So one of our talks was 2024. Are we free? No, I don't want nobody to answer. I want you to think about that, right? Because we still don't have shackles.
Are you free?
Are we free? Right? Like you just seen the halftime show, right? That people were talking about, oh, it wasn't good. You had something like because they really didn't understand it, right? So after people started breaking it down and stuff. But one of the main things I want to say about Black love that we have to understand, when you're saying, you talked about we got to bring it together. The reason why we got to bring it together is because it was torn apart.
Absolutely.
So, but not just torn apart. I tell people you got to understand that we were broken down to our least common denominator. When I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher that say, you do a great job with reducing your fractions, right? And I thought I was, right? And then I got to 10th grade, and my teacher kept saying to me, you do not know how to reduce. I said, I am reducing them. Right. And I was just taking it out. He said, no. She said, no.
Back in the day.
You need to break it down to the least common denominator to the point you don't know how to get it back to a whole.
Right.
That is what has happened to us. We are so scattered that they broke us down to our least common denominator. That's why if we sit here and we ask people, what do we need? Someone say, oh, we need black men. Oh, we need women. Oh, we need this. We need school. Like, we don't even know where to start, but I know where to start. Right. It'll be 30 things you start down, but I know where to start. Love.
Gotta start with love. That frequency.
Love.
Yes, sir.
Well,
So when I say black love, I'm saying, can you love the person that looks like you? Can you look past their flaws and figure out a way that you can work together? Is there any way that we can just work together and not feel ashamed?
Yes, sir.
If we focus on, everybody's talking about mental health, right? And they're telling you, you need a mental health day. You need self-care. You're not going to get better if you don't self-care about yourself, right?
Right.
So what about having community self-care for your culture?
Right.
What about, we need us.
Right.
While we're doing, and I'm not telling you that you don't stop doing for others, but we need some focus on us. If we're ever going to grab our generation and the next generation and turn this thing around, because it ain't turned around. I just told you about my school. Other people are talking about other schools now, whether you want to go to Chicago, Memphis, wherever you want to go, right?
Yes, sir.
That's 30 plus years.
And like you said, your class was what, 1,500 and 200?
243.
That's what, 1,300 just went right into the matrix, right into the system, right into the industrial military prison systems and things of that nature.
Right.
You certainly right on that. Well, go ahead.
and I believe the black love thing, I'm glad you put an emphasis on that. It has several layers to it. When America started taking trades out to school and making it available to black men used to take care of their family, being a welder, being an electrician. They took the trades out to school, and for example, at least here, they moved them to Votech, and then we can't even get in Votech. You know what I mean? So now you have a role change, which is another subject with the Willie Lynch letter. With the Willie Lynch letter, he said he'll do a role reversal. He'll put the woman in the front and the man in the back, and he can only use his muscles but not his mind. And now they push a woman being independent from the man in TV shows like Power, Ignorant, Dysfunction, Cheating. That's the call of the day. Greenleaf, which is supposed to be a Christian show, and it nothing but cheating and infidelity. So now all the songs you see, or not all the songs you see, all the songs you hear, it ain't about us being together like Al Green and the stuff we grew up on in the 70s. It's about cheating, and I can do this by myself. And now the toy store it's trying to take place of the man. You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
So you got independent women in there glorifying that, where every other woman of every other ethnic group puts their man in the front the way it should be. God, man, and the woman. But how many actually live by that? How many actually believe that? They call that male chauvinism. No, that's the call of the day. Other women and other ethnic groups actually respect the leadership of their man almost to a detriment. Like Latino women, they will not call the cops on their husband, even if they should. But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
This is separating black love and us being together. It's being celebrated, all this dysfunctionality. So it's a lot of layers to it.
It's a lot of layers. And like you said, about 2 years ago, we were over at Temple of Grace with a fine pastor, Bishop Evans, and me and my wife would do, what is a man, what is a woman? And I think that's very important. It's very important to lay out what is a man, what is a woman, right? Knowing who you are is very important. One thing that I teach both my sons is knowing who you are. And if we can teach, right? If we can teach people who they are, doesn't mean that they're going to change today. But as long as they have that, if you have a sheet of paper and you say you're a prince and you start writing down everything that falls under being a prince, right? As long as I continue to call you that, one day you're going to live up to that, right? I always like to use Coming to America, right? Coming to America 1. Remember when he comes to his dad and he's like, they're at the table in the beginning. He's like, Dad, I am a man who has never wiped his own butt before, right? And his dad corrects him immediately. And he says, no, you are a prince who has never wiped his own butt before, right? Oh, I'm a man who smoked weed. No, you are a prince who smoked weed. You know what I mean? No, I'm a witch, I'm in a gang. No, you're a prince that's in a gang. Because once he comes to himself and realizes I ain't supposed to be doing that because I'm this, right? We're not putting that stamp on our kids. We're not putting on that stamp. And guess what? It's even hard because if we're not living, being an example of that. Last thing I want to say, back in the day, I never really understood how important that there's a time and a place was. A time and a place. That is so important, right? Like, if you're gonna do something, your kids should not be seeing if it's wrong, right? Like sometimes, hey, all of us have done something wrong, but did you do it so that your kids can see it, right? Well, you're going like, I don't remember the last time I cussed, honestly, but my son will say, listen, I've never heard my dad cuss, right? Doesn't mean I might have been in a fight before. Like, I'm making sure that there's a time and a place. Like, why do we have women, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, but you got women twerking on TV. Like, I'm not telling you not to twerk, but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is it's a time and a place. You want to do that, that shouldn't be exposed. That shouldn't be, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but I'm saying is I know that that shouldn't be exposed. It's reckless. You know, so we have to,
how to drive and you can do wheelies and U-turns and J-turns, but you don't do that down the street.
Exactly. First of all, we got to get back to a time and place. Even if you look at schools and their performance, they say that schools that eat their breakfast in the cafeteria and at lunch perform higher than schools that eat their breakfast in their classroom. Okay. Because now this classroom is not do anything in this classroom. There's no bound. Right. There's no bound. Like, no, you eat here, you learn here, and then we're wondering why kids treat their desks or their because you have not set boundaries. For there's a time and there's a place.
Here, got your homework over here, got your cell phone over there. You're right.
You know,
and I've always heard this growing up that children crave structure. And I heard this when I was a youth, and I was like, that don't make any sense. But as I get older, you know, youth are kind of they're looking at us, parents, teachers. They're looking at us to be the way showers. And so we know, your little man, if he's 15 years old and he has his own key to the house, no, he's not a grown man. You're not a man until at least you're 25, at least till you're finished developing and growing and things of that nature. So we gotta make sure that we, like you was mentioning, have some decorum, have some. Okay, you want to drink, you want to do that, you want to have that vulgar type of language. It's no longer do we think about the generation after us. We had people in the civil rights era that knew that toiled and got up roots and dug the ground and put the seed in, knowing darn well they was never going to see that tree. They were never going to feel the shade of that tree and never enjoy the fruits of that tree. So that's part of the love. And so when you have unconditional love for yourself, that's where it starts. It starts with unconditional love for yourself. And then when you do love yourself, and I say I love myself, and that's the reason why we in this type of work, is then you give it to individuals, like you say, that look like you particularly, and then it gotta grow from the inside out. We can't be just discombobulated with how we radiate this.
And we have to know we have to know that that's an issue, because
excuse me, one second. Can you sign us out?
Thank you. And those that are watching on the White Rose Community Television Network, we're going to be back here live on Channel 16 at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the Hour of Power broadcast. Those watching on TikTok's still on. and Facebook. We're going to go a little bit longer as well. And if you want to add into the conversation, we're going to try to read some of the comments on the Facebook, but I know that the TikTok got comments on there. So like I said, this is a community program. Make sure you stay tuned to next week's wonderful guest. And before we kind of close out, I did want to kind of make mention what you said about we got to start looking at our generation. We got to start looking at the end of our life as well, and this is where life insurance comes in. So we're so caught up on your day-to-day activity, you're caught up on the games of your phone, you're caught up on the NBA All-Star game. We got to start, as an adult, you're supposed to start projecting, okay, 10 years from now, where I want to be. 20 years from now, and that includes getting all your things together with like life insurance and funeral arrangement. I know it's tough conversations. Personally, I had to deal with that. It's wise to do that before something happens, and afterwards, you try to find some money, and you don't want nobody to be putting no Crisco cans and things of that nature. Right, so make sure that you do your due diligence. But you got something you want to kind of speak about that?
So
insurance and such.
We're definitely doing. I definitely do insurance. I believe in it completely. It's something in the black community that is not moving well. My goal is anybody that I know should not be doing a GoFundMe account. I tell people, even if you get $5,000, it's better than zero. Right. And I think anybody who thinks about this has ever went through that process before and had nothing was thinking, dang, if I only had 5,000. And that still wasn't enough. Right. But if I had 5,000. And so I really want everybody to know, listen, you have to get life insurance. Call me, contact me on Facebook. I'm going to give out my email address. But there's more to life insurance than just death benefits. There's living benefits now with life insurance. It's so much bigger. There's cash value that can help you with retirement. There's cash value that can help you create your own bank. Now these are more funded things, but that's why we got to get our money together to be able to do that. Know how we're budgeting, knowing how we're saving, where we're putting our money at. But most of all, life insurance. Everybody should have a policy that is not on their job. Your job is not guaranteed. And once that job is gone, guess what? That life insurance is gone. And I want to tell you, life insurance is based on three things. It's based on your health, your age, and your gender. So the sooner you get it, the better. You don't know if your health is going to decline. And the reason why I know life insurance is so important, because there's some people that I have to decline. There's some people that I can't get any company to take them, right? But they say, yeah, if I'd have got it 3 years earlier, I could have got everything that I needed. Don't wait. Get it on your kids so they have something early, and then they can add to it and so forth. So there's a lot of things about life insurance. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to call me, contact me. I'm there for you. Even if you have a policy and you don't know what you have, you don't got to purchase something. I'll look over your policy and tell you, hey, this is what you got. You need to reach back to your agent, see if they can change this term to whole life, because you still got 3 years to convert it without any medical or no questioning. Like, it's things of that nature that you need to know. So reach out to me. If you have a church, if you have an organization and you want me to come and just do a session, I'm willing to come and do a session so that your people can go ahead and ask all the questions that they need. So I come to churches, I come to community events, I come to schools, you name it.
And then what's your contact information?
Quiet is kept. That's how other ethnic groups get a head start on us, because if someone passes, they're leaving their children a good amount instead of, like you said, GoFundMe.
Yes.
It's life insurance policy.
And truthfully, I don't know too many people that want to go back in 3 days. if it's somebody that you really love. Like, I don't plan on going back in 3 days if something happens to my wife. So we have enough. You know what I mean? I don't want her going back. You know what I mean? You want to keep your job, do FMLA, tell me you'll be back in 2 years or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, 3 days is not enough. So you want to make sure that you have enough coverage to cover that. You know, so that's another thing. Like, death is hard. Death is hard. But it's something that all of us are going to have to face, going to have to go through. So why not be prepared? Why not set your family up for a better future?
Them Jordans ain't gonna
You know,
carry your child.
they're not. The Jordans aren't.
I'm sorry. What's your contact information? Where I can get in contact with you?
You could do David. I mean, not David. For the life insurance, you do D Overton. Agency at gmail.com.
The Overton Agency at gmail.com. I'll be putting that in the comment, a link in the post production as well.
And then anything for the consultant is David at I Believe in You. It's all one thing. I Believe in You. .today.
All right. So anybody who's listening and can see the subtitle, that's David at I Believe in You .today. Get in contact. Wonderful programs that Mr. Pastor David Overton was sharing as far as a believing.
And let me tell you about that. And one last thing, I want to also talk about our ministry, our online ministry, Believe Outreach and Ministry. Believe Outreach and Ministry. Number one, we're about love. Want to let you know we do Bible studies every Thursday. Bible studies every Thursday. Our focus, I Believe in You outreach focus, is relationship. Helping you to build a relationship with God. The relationship that God always wanted with you. Not the relationship that you want with God. We're teaching you the relationship that God always wanted with you. That's why he sent his son, because he wanted a relationship with you. I want you to know that God wants you back. He wants you back. One of the things that we say, and you can say it as well, is that to know him is to love him. To love him is to trust him. To trust him is to obey him. And I say that because there's a process in having this relationship with God. You're not going to start off at obey. I know we hear that a lot of times, like you just got to obey God. How you going to obey God and you don't even trust him? You don't even love him. You don't even know him. You know, I can tell somebody go trust God, and today he does everything that he does. But then tomorrow he goes left and you're upset with me and God. The thing is, you never knew that sometimes God goes left. So we want to teach you to understand. We want to start you with knowing God, loving him, trusting him, and obeying him because he wants you back. So, hey, hop on. You can go to Facebook page to follow us at Believe Outreach and Ministry. Again, Believe Outreach and Ministry.
And I don't know if you two brothers can attest to this. What I see in my walk, it's a huge lack of spirituality amongst our young people. It seems like they don't even believe, anymore. We were coming up, almost every black child went to church. Not that that's the only way of spirituality, but something, it seems like their spirituality is just them within themselves and these gangs and groups, and all they're doing is searching for love and attention. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, again, it comes back to what we were talking about from the very beginning, and that is men.
Yes, sir.
Right? If you have a man and a woman that has children and they go to church, the percentage, I believe, is like 91% of the time the kids are going to go to church. If it's just the man in the house and he has kids, it drops down to 64% of the time those kids will go to church. If you just have a woman in the house it drops down to 23% that those kids will go to church. So again, you see the effect of men, and we don't have a lot of men in our churches. You know, we don't. I know I go to church here, and
watching
here,
football.
and football games, whatever. But we have to. I believe we have to get them to a place to understand relationship, and I think that's the part that men are missing. It's gonna be hard for you to have a relationship with God, and you never had a relationship with your Father.
Yes, sir.
Right? How does that overtake, right? That even comes from David. You think about a lot of people don't understand that David himself just wanted to be father. And I don't want to take this to a Bible study, but he wanted to be father. His father didn't care about him. He came and got anointed, and Jesse said, now go back in that field. That's why David clinged so much to Saul.
Okay.
When Saul took him, he clinged to Saul. When Jonathan told him, look, you got to go. Saul's going, why? I didn't do anything. All he wanted to do was be father.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, even when he could have killed Saul, right? He cut his cloak off. If you go read it, he runs back out of the cage when Saul gets out and he screams out to him, Father. That's what he says to him.
Right.
He screams out to him, Father. And Saul screams back to him, Son, and lets him know, you're better than me. And I'm paraphrasing. Look at he basically said, you're better than me, because Saul said he would have killed him.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So you're looking at why is David a man after God's own heart, right? He just didn't know how to be fathered with God because he never was fathered. So that turmoil of the two,
That happens.
right? So you're looking at men and you're telling them, hey, come to church so you know God. Man, whatever, like my father. There's a lot of stuff you got to break in there. And what you got to break is you got to understand. And one of the things that we're teaching at Believe Outreach is that everything, believe it or not, you see it more and more, everything is relationship.
Yes, sir.
Everything is relationship. If your finances messed up, I'm going to say, what's your relationship with your finance?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? You're going to say, oh, well, I paid it. Well, how you paying that, but you ain't paid? How you buying this?
Right.
That's your relationship.
That's what you should be
So
asking.
you're wondering why your relationship is empty over here.
Yeah.
That's why. Oh, what's your relationship with your health? Oh, what? I'm taking pills, but that's all right because what's your relationship? And so when you start understanding that this thing is about relationship, you start understanding that, listen, God wanted us back. That's why he sent his son. He wanted us back. He wanted the relationship that he always wanted. I know we say to you, like, go get, seek God so you can have the relationship that you want with God. No, God wants the relationship that he always wanted with you since the time he created you. I ain't talking about the time you was born. I'm talking about the time he created you.
Yeah, if we really truly understand that notion, we understand how immensely blessed we are and how immensely powerful that we are. And so that's the work that needs to be done, but it starts from people that know how blessed they are, that know how powerful they are, to be an example for those individuals. So I salute you. I salute the work that you do. Like I say, I'm on board with the vision. So much so, like I say, if you got an extra seat, you need I'd like to sit and see how I can be the thread, to cause this type of thing. I'm saying I got all the answers and things, but even resource wise, and anybody who's listening at home, I'm looking at some of the comments on there. People saying like, this is what we're talking about. We must do it for ourselves. Yes, it's us. We need to do it. Those that are listening, those that responded on this chat, you are the new leaders. We are the new leaders. You know what I mean? So even individuals, you look back at Rosa Parks or whatever, she had a job. She never believed in a million years that she would be responsible for inspiring so many people on a global scale. Yes, you that's listening at home right now, you may be responsible for a tremendous change on a global scale that starts today. That starts as a result of being inspired from this wonderful gentleman that we have right here. And so, like I said, it starts with us. And someone asked the question, is like, where does it start? I said, it starts with me. I'm going to go ahead and say that. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say that in a way that I know that ain't going, anybody that really feels the frequency of it don't understand what I'm really talking about. It starts with me. So if we all take that when that question is asked, is that response either audibly or in your mind, starts with me. then we can see some real stuff kind of moving around. But you got anything you want to share, Shareef, before we kind of close it out, and any final words?
I mean, to the brothers, you are the leaders and supposedly the head of the household. And even if you don't get along with the mother of your children, you are still obligated to lead, teach, and guide your children. And the word father, the root meaning of the word father is someone that takes you further in life. Father, further in life, educationally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, educationally. That is your job, and you don't deserve that title if you're not taking your children further. You just a daddy. But a father is something different. It comes from the Most High. Take them further. So make sure you do that. And one quick, y'all heard about the case in Detroit. 2 children froze to death in their mother's van. She was living the children were living in the van with the mom supposedly for 3 months. And my question was, and I posted on Facebook, where was the father?
Mm-hmm.
How do you not know what's going on with your children for 3 months? It don't matter if she wouldn't let you talk to them. Then you go to the next level.
Yeah.
Call the cops.
You have rights.
Go to children. You got rights.
Yeah.
You don't stop and just give up on your children. How in the hell do you not know what's going on with your children for 3 months? A 2-year-old and a 9-year-old. And a 2-year-old can't speak for themselves. That's all the more that you should have been in contact with them. I blame it on him. And he admitted it. He said, I was working and she didn't tell me what was going on. So you didn't see your children or visit with your children for 3 months? How can that be? My boys are 16 and 17 and I check on them every single day.
You even got FaceTime. You can see.
Yeah.
Let me see what you're looking like.
Oh,
You
use
see
the technology that God has
see-
blessed us with.
Yeah.
There's no
No
excuse for a man not to know what's going on with his children. And then another case came out. I called Detroit to see if there's a way we could help. So I know the inside and out. I called the mayor's office down there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did. And I usually don't make public the things that I do. There's another case today where a mentally ill mom buried her son in her own backyard, 9 years old. And they had a record that she was mentally ill. She has many cases. Once again, where's the father at? Too much of this going on. But we thank you for coming on. You're welcome on this, and I want to help you and support what you do outside of here.
Thank you.
I'll be getting with you.
All right.
All right, so everybody who's listening at home, like I said, we got this the wonderful programs that we mentioned about the American Boys Fly, parenting for parents. If you be honest with yourself, like we all need, there's certain parenting skills that we didn't have. Now, unless some of you out there are scholars, you got all the parenting books, you went out to BAM and you read them all, you're scholars, and I got it. But not most of us are not scholarly like that, but it's little tidbits and things that we learn. So we got to go back to school, you know. So it's something that's very, very much needed information. And so before I kind of close out, I want to make mention to the God. Ben Bruno came on the program about a month or so ago. We asked a question for Black Americans here in this society, like where is our bloodline? What are the cultures and traditions and things that we experienced when we were in the mother country before we came over to this particular area? And we might feel a little bit, yes, you at home, you have your children might ask, what's your lineage, what's your bloodline? You can only go back to your great-grandfather, and we say, man, we wish there was a way that we can get in contact or in touch with some of this information that preceded us, so we can start to ingrain that into our youth, into the future where we're going to. Now, this brother put in a lot of work getting particular information together, particularly from the Cameroon. He's a Cameroon American scientist, advocate, and he has a passion for, yes, letting us know our heritage and our true culture and some of the traditions and things. So this is a wonderful book. This is the Ancestral Bloodline, the Black Crown. This is the first edition that the God put out, explaining the different mindsets and traditions and things that we experienced back when we was in the mother country, so we can reclaim that. That's a larger thing. We gonna get to that down the road. First, we got to get that unconditional love for ourselves. Work with those in the community that look like us on this level, and then we will eventually, when we broaden out, we do have to reconnect with our brothers and sisters, which are separated from us on another landmass. And they need our help over there too, because they got problems going on over there. But we're in the most beautiful time, and I thank everybody who was able to hear the sound of my wonderful voice during this hour of power as we move forward in this beautiful stretch of time. And so if you're pulling air right now, like I said, you are blessed. You're not a drop of the ocean. You're the ocean in the drop. And I'm asking everybody to find that unconditional love for yourself. If you need to go outside, it's kind of cold up here in the northwest. I mean, northeast. So getting out to nature, getting around positive individuals. If you point me your 5 closest people, I can predict your future. So find people that are part of your success team that want to see you, and you should want to see yourself evolve into a greater person with your health, with your relationship with God, with your relationship with your wife, relationship with your children. And so once you find out unconditional love, I'm asking everybody to give a little small smidget of that love to your fellow reflections that are walking around on the face of the earth. We all need to do this so we can flip all these cards over. Nobody's coming for us. We need to do it ourselves. This is Ptah Shakur. Stay tuned for us for next Wednesday for the Hour of Power and on Monday for the Ptah Shakur Speaks program. So love and light to you all. I'm about to cut it off. We're going to get a little pickety pig. Oh, let me hit that.